Hi, my name is Frankie. Thank you for listening to my mom. I never listen.
Welcome to Nothing But Net, the head coach of the A10 leading Richmond Spiders, Aaron Roussell. Coach, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it, Debbie. This is looking forward to it.
I mean, this is a fun time of year, right? I mean, you got to be rolling. You got to absolutely be ecstatic about where your team is and the incredible grind that the A10 has provided this year. This is an exceptional year to be on top.
Yeah, it is. And you said, you got to be thrilled and everything. You're catching me after a win. The George Mason game, that was a long 4 days between Saturday night and Wednesday night with Duquesne. Just really proud of our players to have us in this position, to be able to play for a championship this weekend. You went into this week that you mentioned, the A10 is just, I say brutal in a great way, great for the league. When you're a coach that was looking at this year and marking this year to have an older team and hopefully have a chance for a championship. And then you look around, you're like, man, everybody else is good too. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be scripted. Going up to Mason, they played fantastic. Vanessa's done an unbelievable job there. And that loss, it wasn't a bad loss, but it just kind of put a lot of pressure on the Wednesday game against Duquesne. And fortunately for our kids, man, we were locked in, just really fun to watch, and played really well offensively. Put up 90, and hopefully we can kind of finish this thing off tomorrow.
Your team is really fun to watch. They pass, they cut hard, they create scoring opportunities by their space. Tell us a little bit about your style and why you play like this, and why it's important for women's basketball for other teams to think about playing like this.
Well, why we play like this is because you've been on me and everybody else to play like this. Doug Bruno was on me long ago. I do believe, and I don't mean this that it's not genuine. We're all trying to win here, but there's an entertainment component to what we do. And 20 years ago, it was, we got to be tougher. We got to be tougher. There's still some of that. Don't get me wrong, but it was just, win ugly. And when you're first starting off, you didn't care, and I think the more you learn about basketball, the more you enjoy things. Watching European play, watching the WNBA, watching, nobody says they want to watch the NBA anymore, but there's some really, really good stuff in the NBA that's trickled down to in particular, what we're doing. For us, it just was, we changed this probably 3 years ago. Really just kind of spreading the floor, felt we had some length, felt we had some shooting, had some kids that could get to the basket. That wasn't happening as much when we just were plotting people at the basket, posting them up, and trying to play fast, trying to play fluid, out of the high post, out of the perimeter. I probably just needed something different to teach and enjoy, not that I wasn't enjoying what we were doing, but it was just kind of getting in a little bit of a rut for me personally. And so kind of did a little bit of a deep dive, and it's really worked out for our players and our fans. Like I said, there is an entertainment component to this. It's a fun style to watch and a fun style to play.
To flip quickly to the men's side, last night would have been a night off for me, and I went down to the College of Charleston. Pat Kelsey's a friend of mine. I wanted to watch the guys play. They had a chance to clinch the CAA, and Rain Smith, his shooter, made 10 threes, and they were blowing out Campbell on their way to winning the outright CAA title, and not a person left because of the entertainment value of pass, cut, make shots, work hard. People ask me all the time about the difference in the men's and the women's game. It's not really above the rim. That's a part of it. Yeah. But to me, cutting hard, getting in a stance, playing every possession, and your movement without the ball. Jimmy Dykes uses the word violent. I wish we had a little bit more violent cutting, a little bit more violent passing, if you will, right? When I say that, what do you think about?
For us, it is, I think when we were posting up a lot, and we still do now, don't get me wrong, different people are doing that, but you're looking at points in the paint, and people look at us from threes and almost making 10 threes a game and all of this stuff. It is that, but I don't know that we go into it hunting a lot of that. It's a lot more hunting the basket. Like I said, when we were posting a lot, it was all about points in the paint. We actually get more points in the paint now with nobody down there, whether that's driving to the basket. You mentioned the cutting. our players have probably heard this, and it probably would eye roll if they heard me say it again, but we want to be the best cutting team in the country. I don't know how you measure that completely, but when you hear compliments from other places about just how do you get your kids to cut like that, and I think that's important. It's essential to how we play. There's a timing component to it. Another eye roll, when things aren't going well, I'm usually telling them we got to cut more, we got to cut better. That's
Yeah.
just kind of the age old thing. But I think one thing, and I love the term violent cut. I've never thought about that, but sometimes I want them to be more violent on the way out of there too. We'll cut hard, but sometimes it's that pace and speed of how you get out of there to set up another cut or set up something else. I think that isn't maybe thought enough about. It probably wasn't thought enough about by me when we first started, but that's an essential part to how we play.
I like to look at the exit cut. I think you're right. I think it's equally as important as a scoring cut or a slice cut or whatever kind of cut you want to make or whatever kind of screening action you want to play off of. Obviously, you got to have a change of pace on some of that, but the sprint back out to the 3-point line and set your feet, like Steph Curry is a magician at that. Nobody does it better. And I really think it's one of, Caitlin doesn't do a lot of exit cut threes, Caitlin Clark referencing. Because she's the hot topic right now in the game.
Yeah, she doesn't need. We don't need to say Clark anymore, right? She's just kind of Caitlin.
Caitlin,
Like it's
right.
Caitlin, Steph. Like you almost don't have to finish that, right?
Don't you love that we do have people in our game that are so iconic that you just use their first name? I think that's continuing to grow. But it is a good point that you reference about teaching it. Like one of the great values in the game is making the game easier for your teammates. Like when people give a compliment to a player that they make the game easier for their teammates or make it better, it really has to do with all the non-stat things that are a part of the game that make the game so fluid. When you think about that, what lens are you thinking through?
Yeah. I think for us, growing up, we all heard hey, if you screen for somebody, usually you're the one that's open. I still think there is some of that, but we have a great point guard right now. Grace Townsend, story's been told. I told her when she came here, nobody's ever gonna know you're a walk-on because we'll never talk about it. And the story is out now that, she was a neighbor of ours and, was part of that first recruiting class. Like when everything is open, so when you're cutting, it's like you're wasting your opportunity because she's going to find you. She's putting the ball on the floor. If she's putting the ball on the floor and you're still 2 feet behind the arc, I used to start getting mad at Grace, being like, you got to let them set their feet. You got to let them get out of there. Now it's a little bit, yo, man, you got to get out there because Grace is going to find you. Either she's going to the basket or something else. She is going to find you. So there's almost I say the word selfish, and our players are far from that. I think if you watch us play, a very, very unselfish group, but you got to be selfish enough to sprint out of there. It used to be you're making a cut. Oh man, I didn't get it. And so you're making your way out and you're just kind of watching. Now it's you're making your cut, but you better get out there quick because you're wasting an opportunity for you to get up a three yourself.
Aaron, when I watch your teams, I know we talk about offense a lot, and I do think you're an offensive clinic watching your club play. But I want to talk about under, overhead, strap, ice jam, switch, drop, the 8 different variations of a ball screen and why we don't need those, but for your team and covering your team because of the way you move, we want to interject those, things more into the women's game. I think, that's when we have enough shooters, we have enough deep range scorers. We are much better at doing all the things we just talked about. I say that, and I say it fast on purpose because it's kind of funny. And I use it on the air because I think the point is we don't really need all that, right? There are a lot of teams that play a softer cover that are really good rebounding teams. There's a lot of teams that are up the line, overplaying, double teaming, bringing 2 to the ball all the time. There's no, that doesn't mean you're not playing defense.
Right.
Right. So I get, my shtick has always been about offense, that, but it doesn't mean you're not playing. Like you can play that style if that helps your offensive game. I see everything through an offensive lens. If you can rebound and get out on the break, let's get numbers and let's push and let's see if we get a mismatch early and see if we get a quick hitter. To me, that's all playing softer under. It's a style play. When I say, when we have this conversation, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think probably I hate to say a defensive guy, offensive guy, but definitely probably looking at it more from an offensive end. The whole defense loves champion or defense wins championships. It sounds great, and there is some truth to it. When we're not playing well, a couple times this year, it's been guys, we're just not defending well enough. And maybe some of that, last week against Mason, but you know, and now if I'm getting to the answer of your question, but like last year when we looked at this, we took the 50 most efficient offenses. All 50 of those teams were, I think there was like one exception of like 20-win seasons, postseason play. Like they had all done that, you know, and it's like some of the ones that maybe DePaul dipped a little bit last year, but like they've been like the standard of offense for a long time. And you look at the 50 most efficient defensive teams, and there wasn't the strong correlation I think everybody makes it out to be. So I think this day and age, it used to be, hey, offense beats defense. There isn't anything a defense can do that there isn't an offensive counter to. You can go back and forth with any level of coach, NBA, whatever. They can counter every defensive action that you can do. And, you know, yes, we talk a lot about defense and we do all this. And in order for us to make the run, we have to defend well. But it doesn't mean that every staff meeting that we have needs to be an hour and a half about how we're defending the ball screen that particular game.
Exactly.
It just, it's not.
That's why I'm all this. Now,
Yeah.
wait a second. I want to show you something. I've never shown anybody this before. You're going to be the first person to see it.
I'm very eager right now.
This is what you don't see in my office. See these goals right here? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 10 things here that are a snapshot of what Tara Vanderveer's staff did researching who gets to the Final Four. Okay. So I keep this in my office over here on the side. Like I've had it up there for years. And the reason why I keep it in my office, like I have a lot of stuff on my walls, you know, that are, you got a staff, I don't. So I'm except for BMac, if he counts himself as, I've got all kinds of stuff written down everywhere. Like if I could put chalkboard paint in my office would be totally black. I would love to do that, but it would not be a good visual in my home. So I keep that because I think about that when I'm calling games and I'm talking about the game, and people know I'm all about offense, but there are some defensive goals on that list that Tara had put together. And I've carried that, and I keep it in my office because I think it's really a great measurement of where our game has gone, right? And why it's important to do certain things. And defense is a part of it, but it's clearly a very pro-offensive style of play at Stanford. And that's why they've been able to have so much success. I mean, as good as the Pac-12 is this year, they're still on top of the league, right?
Right.
This is, you know, their last year and all that. When you look at the A10 and I look at the teams at the top, to bring it back to the A10, this is what I see out of the league this year. I see much better offense. I see more scorers. I see better ball handlers. You're cutting. That's a very important skill. I think that we don't talk about enough that we're talking about today. When you look at the A10 through your lens and you see how competitive every night has been, I got to believe this is like one of the best years the league has ever had. Just because of a number of teams that are capable of winning. When you're looking at it, and you took the job knowing that you were going to have a real opportunity to do what you're doing this year, what are you thinking about why the league has better prepared you for March?
Yeah. First off, great coaching. I know everybody probably says that, but you know, you've had a lot of these guys on already this year. Like, it's just great coaching. There is, you know, VCU is an incredible defensive team. You know, St. Joe's has been incredible. You know, they're all everything, but you know, you look at the statistics that we've had some of the top defensive teams in the country in our league this year. But I think the offense has just evolved a lot. Like, there's a lot higher scoring games than when we got here. We kind of jokingly, when we got the job 5 years ago, it'd come from Bucknell and it'd been, you know, same thing, kind of what we are right now. A heavy scoring team, a lot of success there. And we came into it and just kind of joked, we got to go get some length, we got to get some scoring, get some shooting, because somebody in this league has to score. You know, 5 years ago, it was rock fights. You know, I think we won a game and both teams in the 40s when we first got here. And it's like, this can get you to a certain point, but to get to that elite level, you've got to be able to score, especially this day and age. And that's what I've been telling people, man. Like, you got to get on internet, you got to watch basketball, because basketball over the last 12 years has changed, but over the last 5 years has changed. If we did the things, and we were very good at Bucknell doing similar things, if we played that way now, we would not have the success that we are right now. It's a constant evolution of everything going on. If you're coaching these days, you got to watch basketball. Go watch European. Go watch some new things out there, because it's really, really high level coaching, really, really high level stuff. And I think that's definitely trickled down to the coaches in the A10.
I don't want to go into officiating, but I do think that officiating is, the rules that are in place are predominantly leaning more towards offense, which I think is a good thing. So if you were on the rules committee and you had a chance to impact how we play the game offensively, is there anything that you can think of that might, you might like to look at?
I was really nervous about the charge blocking thing this year, taking that away. I thought we were, I jokingly would say, find a way to eliminate the charge. I just think it's an unnatural act that so many people are doing when you're just trying to, there's a place for it, but I thought we were, kudos to the rules committee, because this has not been the downfall that I thought it was going to be. But I do think, I mean, if we want to go 24-second shot clock, let's go 24-second shot clock, man. Like everybody else is doing it. If we can adopt a lot of what FIBA is doing, a lot of what international basketball is doing, make this a little bit faster and quicker actions. 30 seconds isn't killing us, but I wouldn't mind seeing a 24-second shot clock. And, if we could somehow figure out the charge thing, I would enjoy this maybe a little bit more.
I want to switch to the A10 tournament, and I know you got another game before we get there, but having the tournament in Richmond, there are a lot of good teams in Virginia, in the Richmond area. This should be really fun, right? I mean, the facility is gorgeous. I mean, I got to believe that, as you've been building towards the season with the way you play, the product you put on the floor, the style of play, all that has got to lead into a really successful A10 tournament. How tough is it going to be this year?
I don't know if fun's the right word, Debbie. I don't know if for everybody else, yes. For the 15 coaches, there's a fun component to this. But like I said, man, when you're having a special season and you look across and you're like, hey, you just want to play well. If we just do this, we'll be okay. Well, guess what, man? We didn't play poorly against George Mason. You still lost. We maybe played one of our, didn't play very well at Duquesne. You still lost. Hey, we've played well and still had close games. So as much as you want to make it about you, and I do think we have great kids that are really going to be locked in, and I like the way that we're playing right now. There's just really, really good basketball. And when the stakes are, at hope that maybe you get more than one team in the tournament, but when the stakes are here and it's not just, okay, let's hopefully cut down the nets, but then after that, all 7 of us are going to the tournament. That's definitely not happening. But I'll even say this, like looking at the year that the A10 has had, the schedules that we've all played, the winning percentage, all of this sort of thing, if you just, the eye test, if only one of these teams gets to the NCAA tournament, like that's maybe travesty is too strong a word, but pretty close to that. Like we're supposed to reward special seasons. And I'm looking across and I'm like, I know what St. Joe's can do against a lot of Power 5 teams. I know what Mason can do. Like, I know what all of these teams can do. VC, all of this. I really hope that we get more than one team in, because I think this has been an incredible season for the A10. We've made leaps and bounds over what we've, maybe were 3 years ago, and even maybe more than that. I just know there's a lot of teams in this league that could make some noise, and I hope the league gets that opportunity.
I think wearing the A10 hat right now looks good on you, Aaron. That you're pushing the right buttons on why the league should get multiple bids. I hope your regional rep is paying attention and the committee's paying attention. I'm sure they are, because this is the kind of style of play that we like seeing, and I think it's endearing to the fans. And I want to thank you for incredible conversation. I always love talking to you. We could go on and on about offense, you and me. We could, keep going, but I don't want to hold you. I know you've got a championship on the line that you're looking to secure. So I want to thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate your time, Debbie. What you do for this game, for the A10, for everything. It's entertaining, it's enjoyable, but more than that, it's very much appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Aaron. That's Aaron Roussell, the head coach at Richmond, right now in first place in the A10.